Hey, I'm so sorry about that. I was clicking some other, but I am so sorry, folks. Thanks for being here.
Well, you
We're like
live by
30
the tech and
seconds.
you die by the tech.
Oh, I was putting some more makeup on in the background. Well, the timer went off, and I didn't know why we didn't go live. So my apologies, folks. We are live today with my buddy Rick. Rick's out in Arizona, the warm weather. Rick, I got more snow today, buddy. But the reason why I had you on here, I'd love when you talk about real estate because you really have the Arizona market pinpointed. We're also checking on your health, buddy. I want to make sure you're okay. So Rick had some issues with his health lately, and we've just followed up with him on that. And I also want to know what the heck's going on in your market, buddy. So
Well, I appreciate that, Dan. I miss not being on here. The operation was a success. I had renal cell carcinoma on my kidney. Um, they removed the cancer, and I got to keep the kidney. And the doctor came in to see me in the recovery room, and I said, he goes, "How's it going, Rick?" And I said, "Well, the vacation didn't match the brochure, doctor." And so, but the thing that kept me off of here the most was not so much how I was feeling, but I couldn't talk
oh, I
because
gotcha.
they give you that resp or whatever it is. They shove a
Yeah.
tube down. So I tried to get, and even sitting around people, I had to whisper, and so that was driving me nuts.
I talked to you on the phone a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it was you were like a smoker. Hey Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm a 10 pack a dayer now. So
Yeah,
well,
really
that's all back. The energy is up. I feel
awesome.
really good. And so I'm ready to rock and roll. And then Arizona real estate,
Yeah.
tried to get ready to rock and roll, but didn't quite take off, Dan.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying it's kind of freaky here. We were talking about it today. Usually, right after Super Bowl is when all the activity starts in the in people buying homes, and that's why also I wanted to get you on here to say what are you seeing out there because the refinances. I mean, right now the phones are ringing off the hook with refinances. Thank God. It seems like all of a sudden. I mean, you might have the take on this one. It's like or the purchase contracts are trickling in. I mean, we get 2-3 a day previously, and now it's like one today and one in 2 days. But the refinances are going crazy. I didn't realize how many people had like 8.25 rates.
Wow.
Yeah, back in November 23, rates hit 8.1. So then if you had some, dings on your credit or whatever, you might be at 8.25 or something like that. Yeah, I'm getting them. I think I have one closing. He's saving like $450 a month. I mean, it's crazy. So if you're out there and I don't know. So how's the market going out there? Because in
Well,
Chicago,
boy, yeah,
yeah,
Arizona's, we're finally warm today. We've been cold, wet, rainy, wham,
uh,
wham, wham. But,
yeah, it
but we,
snowed here on Monday. It
yeah, yeah,
snowed.
yeah, yeah. Well, and we had rain. So
Yeah.
the na- the market here is, I can describe it like this: good, good, bad. All depends on the neighborhood.
I gotcha.
And a lot of when I say bad, and I don't mean, um, I'm talking sellers. Now, so in the outlying areas where there's all the new construction,
Yeah.
it's really hard to sell your existing home, even though you can have some advantages. So you've got a home that's in great shape and you have a pool. That's pretty easy to compete with a new build because new builds don't give you a pool,
Oh,
and you got to spend another 100,000 later.
yeah.
So, but the problem that we're having in this market that's finally starting to adjust is that sellers just kind of got the memo that said, well, January looks like this is going to be a good month. Let's see what we can get for the house. And they shot for the sun, moon, and the stars.
Okay.
And
But are
the
they
app,
prices that are just crazy though? It's like, oh, let's throw our house on the market for 500,000 more than expected. Let's see if somebody will take it.
well, it's like I've seen somewhere, the past 2 years, real estate here has gone up 8% and they went up 20. So it's in what I think, and I won't know for a couple of weeks. I think there were a lot of listings that said, well, let's just sign a 90-day listing agreement with the agent. And if it doesn't sell, I'll take it off. I did a survey and the respondents said that 24% of them are selling because they have to sell, job relocation, whatever. Over half of 80% of the respondents said either, the other two choices, either they're just seeing what they can get and they'll let it expire, or yeah, if they can't sell it, they're going to try again next year. So not a lot of serious listings out there. I think it's the equity's there. Let's see what we can do. If we can't get it,
Yeah.
and agents are having a hard time getting people pull back, but we have had some
You want the numbers up?
improvements.
Can we pull
Well,
up numbers
just
for you?
yeah, let me try to find it here first before I
Okay.
bore everybody with it. But I think it's average list price is what I'm trying to look here. There's too many. This thing has so many different choices. Um,
That's like me trying to go live. I keep having I got to talk to you off camera at some point because I'm having issues with audio on a lot of these things, and I know you use a different platform, but
yeah, go ahead and
you-
show this chart. Yeah,
okay,
there's a lot of different buttons to push here, but okay, here's average list price per square foot. See how it's turning? The red
yeah,
line.
oh yeah,
Okay, so that's a good thing, but people came out kind of hot. This one is last year. Now, seasonally, it always tends to go up at the beginning of the year,
sure,
and then
wow,
it's turning back down. Now, but this $359 per square foot is still higher than the average sales price, and so that's the one thing I've been touting a lot here, saying, okay, this is good that it's down, but you're not there yet. If we go to the average sales price, if I can find that here, and because that's where the disconnect is. Here we are, sales per square foot. I'll do monthly average, weekly chart again. And so it comes up. I'll go back to this. Now, come on, you can load. You can load. I'm at $359 there, and I'm at
whoa,
313 here.
yeah,
Notice how the monthly average sales price is still climbing,
mm-hmm.
but you're not going to sell your house if you are above that what's selling in your neighborhood.
Got it,
Now, some people are pricing correctly in certain parts of town and still not having any luck, but places like Chandler and Gilbert, boom. I mean, there's you put them out there and Friday, and you got, I don't know if you watch Caitlin at all. She said they had one, they had Friday and had an offer on Sunday. And
yeah, it. I talk to people all over the country. That I bring you guys in because you're in an area that I don't really have a lot of. I don't get a lot of business out of Arizona. Lately, I've been talking to a young man in Tampa, and he came across he was all pissed off at you and my buddy's what's his name, the Reventure kid, whatever. So he's like, I'm in Tampa. I've been waiting. I've been watching these crash guys for years, and I don't want to get on the crash thing. I really don't want to get on there. But
yeah,
he's like, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and he's in my market. Basically, it's up about 150, 200 grand. I could have got a rate at 3.5. Now they're 5, 6.5, 7. He's like, I'm just doing it. So there's a lot of people that right now they're just like they're frustrated with it. They're like
beat
the
down.
housing market, the housing prices aren't coming down. They're not crashing, and so that's what's going on. We're getting, like I said, we're getting a lot of activity with refinances because rates, VA rates. I was just doing a VA video a little bit ago. We're down at like 6.1, so it's almost back in the 5% range. So I think as soon as people see 6.5 or 6.25. I think that'll boost up the markets, but I don't know,
Well, here's the thing. I track every, I get a track 7-day moving average, how many active listings, blah, blah, blah. And our homes under contract are 3,000 every 7 days, and 3,100 and 3,000. We've gone from an average of 3,300 in February to now 3,000, and it's not moving. It's just a flat line. So when I read articles that say sales have increased, because they have one on Channel 3 here the other day, their website, that
Yeah.
February numbers were much higher than January numbers. Could this mean the market's coming back? And I went and looked and go, no, I'm still at 3,000.
Right.
Now, the difference between, and there's a lot of discussion out there right now amongst questions of people asking and different articles and stuff that our inventory is growing. Well, it is, but it's not really growing because more and more people are listing. It's growing because of the active listings that come on. When compared to the contracts, there's a 300 to 500 home gap. So it was really easy for me to predict at the beginning of the year that said, I don't think this year is going to be a big busting out of the charts year. You can see there that our listings indeed were climbing, but it's pretty easy to predict where it was going to go. I said, we'll be at 26,000 by the end of March. Well, I've got a week and a half, and we will be there. And it's just because every week, 500 fewer homes sold than what came on the market. What remains to be seen is how many expireds we're going to have on April 1st. I'm really watching that. And so people, they've got these news headlines that our listings are growing so much. And when they were way down here, like look at that 4,700, right?
What year is
And
that?
then the listings started climbing in 2022. And when they got about here, they go, listings have climbed 37%. And I said, good, we need them to climb 370%.
Yeah, just to get back to kind of normal.
Yeah, and and they say that in our market, normal's right here, 27,000.
Okay.
But I get a lot of comments like, "Well, how's this compared to pre-pandemic?" Well, what does that even mean? Because the thing that really counts is this, Pat, and it's months of supply, the measurement between the number of listings you have and how fast they're being gobbled up. And it's gone down. We were 4.3, now we're 3.8. That's the number that, if you're going to look at just one thing during your morning cup of coffee, look at months of supply. Now, is it going to get lower? Is it going to get higher? I don't know. I think, I don't see anything on the horizon, and I'm saying maybe, through June, that's going to change that 3,000 a week number. I don't see it. But here's where people are really getting hurt here. These are average square foot on condos.
We got killed here during like the biggest impact we had in the Chicagoland area back in the 2008 crash. House prices plummeted, condos got annihilated.
Yeah, if I compare it to single family residence, I'll take off condo and just put in the homes there. They're down slightly, but not to the degree that condos are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and I think it's, maybe there's a lot of Airbnb inside of that as tourism. The other thing that and you can take this chart off there if you want them.
Okay. Sure.
The other thing that we're seeing now, and we're going to see this in different pockets around the country, like Florida and particularly in Arizona, Canadians. The Canadian dollar is only worth 69 cents here. And now with all of the chatter and the talk of tariffs and they don't like our president. And so they're putting their house on the market. I'm trying to get a video with a guy he's from Calgary and he has an office here in Arizona. He's got 10 listings and he's so busy. I'm having a hard time scheduling with him. But I said, well, what is it? The dollar? He goes, no, they've had it. He says they just want out of the United States. He says
Really?
they're going to take their equity. He said, and they'll just vacation somewhere else. He goes, chances are they've been in Arizona a few years. They've already had multiple trips to the Grand Canyon. They've been to the beach in San Diego, and it's time to do something else. And they don't feel welcome.
Well, it's funny you said that because there's a lot of people in the condo that I have down in Florida that are from Canada, and I'll be down there in about a month and a half. I'll have to talk to them about that. They're so cool, but yeah, it's like I didn't think of that part of the equation.
Yeah, my brother's in Palm Springs, and he's in a park down there with his fifth wheel, and surrounded by people from Canada. He says they just love them to death. They're just great people and having so much fun. And they're out saying, well, we're not coming back.
Really?
A, it's too expensive, and B, we just don't like what's going on. And so, it's an emotional tug. So, that there's probably a lot of condos owned by people from Canada. And
there are down by me a lot.
So gonna watch that closely, and that I don't know. I don't have any way of pulling up the percentage of homes owned by Canada. I mean, it's just I'd have to be a guru to get into tax records for that. But that's the other added dynamic that we're seeing now, which who'd have thunk? And
that didn't even cross my mind.
If you price correctly, your house will move. It's just that people are still the wave of optimism they had in January has kind of started to fizzle. But there's no desperation. I got to sell.
Yeah, there is none. And nobody, it's like, and I keep doing the reports because I keep watching the foreclosures and things like that to see, what's going to actually uptick the markets, the foreclosures. I mean, the equity spread right now, there was I showed a report the other day in one of my videos. the equity, if you've had your house 5-6 years, your equity's huge. So, I mean, how would you get foreclosed on unless you went through COVID and never made a payment, and then you just never made a payment since then? You burn up all that equity, but it's hard to believe that you would lose all that equity to get foreclosed on.
Well,
That's a tough one.
where's this chatter coming? And I see it in my chat that the FHA is with FA, one of those four acronyms, that they're holding back 7 million homes where people don't have to make their payments for 5 years. I can't find that anywhere.
I can't find
There
it.
seems to be
wouldn't-
this
yeah.
narrative that there's this
Really?
ghost inventory out there that's going to, where people are not making their payments and it's going to show up. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. And I look at that. That's the data I really dig into, because I'm trying to figure out, how many houses are coming to the market, things like that. I don't know why I dig into that as much. Well, basically because of the videos that we do all the time. I should just stay in my lane on the financing part, but some of the data that I watch, it's just so bad. It's like you were saying, oh, the market's way up, and then you look at, here's what I've been getting grief on, and this will tickle you. Is most of my videos, I'm like, hey, mortgage rates are plummeting, and they might have dropped 0.1 or whatever, and I'm getting just pounded. But I'm like, okay, how about all these videos that the market's crashing, the housing market's worse than ever before, and it's like, and you have house prices up. I hope you guys are bitching at those people too.
I love it when I see a headline that says it's a great big number, and then you go and look and it changes like 0.2%.
Yeah. So it's. But yeah, I was on the interest rate front. It was kind of cool yesterday to see the Fed come out, and I know that's kind of in your wheelhouse too. I didn't realize the quantitative, how they're selling off their bond portfolio. Did you catch that? And so I don't think a lot of people caught that, because I dug into the details last night. And about 8-10 months ago, or about a year ago, they were selling about $60 billion worth of bonds each month. And where this comes into play, I'll explain it to the audience. Rick gets this. Here's, I focus on rates. Rick he's on the real estate side. Where rates come in, yesterday the Federal Reserve came out and they kind of said, we're not going to do anything with rates. But, we expect 2 rate cuts in the future. They gave us the dot plot, which was really cool. And I went through those in videos. But they came in and said, we're going to start reducing the amount of bonds that we're selling into the market. So what you have to understand is what creates interest rates is a mortgage bond. What competes against it is government bonds. So you have, you can see the national debt at 36 point something trillion. So there is a massive amount of government bonds out there. And now you have the Federal Reserve selling, 50 billion worth of bonds into the market each month as well. You have a flood of bonds just plummeting the prices, and that's what's jacking up the rates. So if now the Fed can slow that down, they halved it back in June, and they halved it again. I think it's supposed to start in April. That's going to be tremendous when it comes to the bond yields, squeezing the spreads and everything else. So I'm predicting rates, in the 6.25 to 6.5 range, probably within the next 2-3 months. But the tariffs are just that's I think what everybody's just sitting back is just saying, I don't even know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow.
Yeah. We got a comment here that says, you guys reading the comments and answering any questions.
Sorry.
We will. The first, and I want to get back to what you said there too a minute ago. But there's a question up here I've been looking at. It says, how will the coming militarization of the border affect the Arizona real estate market? It won't. I mean, nobody was coming across the border and buying a house. In fact, they weren't even coming across the border and renting. They just kept going further north. So it's not going to affect us at all. It's a headline. The other thing that somebody commented on my video last night and said, Jerome Powell said that inflation may come back, and yet they're talking about 2 more rate cuts. Isn't this scary to you? And I said, no. I mean, I don't get all wound up about Jerome Powell. It doesn't. There's a lot of other moving parts in our economy than staying up at night and worrying about Jerome Powell. But like you said, what people don't know that they're also doing is the way that they're changing their balance sheet and selling off mortgage-backed securities and selling off bonds. And then the other thing that affects everything we do is our national debt. That concerns me way more than anything Jerome Powell would say.
Yeah. So Daniel, we didn't ignore you. I promise you. We were such in a deep chat. I wasn't even paying attention. Or Rick and I was talking. I haven't talked to him in about 2-3 weeks. I had to follow up
At
with him again
least.
today. So, so yeah, folks, if you're on here, please ask any questions. You can ask a mortgage question. I'm happy to answer. You can ask a real estate question. Rick can happily answer with that. But we're just kind of diving into the real estate. And the whole point of us going live is, yeah, we can. Rick and I chit chat on the phone every once in a while, but we come live because we want to really truly help you guys understand the markets. So we come in here and we talk about interest rates and mortgage programs and things like that. That's why we do this. So if you guys have any questions out there, we would love to hear from you. And also, if let us know where you're watching from. That'd be cool because we try to incorporate everybody. And I know today we'll probably just get a lot of people out west because of Rick. And I appreciate you guys coming on. So
I don't bring that many people on.
but yeah, it was the dynamics right now that we're seeing here is the contracts. I can talk about the contracts coming in. You can talk about the numbers. It's I usually on our side we don't get busy until April. Because of the weather, I do a lot of Midwest, East Coast. We do some in some deals in California, through your neck of the woods. Texas, we do a lot of Texas and Florida. But we do a lot of Midwest, Ohio, New York, things like that. And the weather it's like here. Saturday was 70. Monday we got an inch of snow. Tuesday was 30. Yesterday snowed. Today's 60. It's nuts. I feel like I'm in Colorado.
Yeah. It's I'm finally going to take my RV out on Sunday and spend a couple nights out there. I've been, but I haven't, obviously didn't have any time or the health to do it. So I'm going to go out and take care of that. But I think, you talk about things getting busy. I don't see us getting busy. I mean, this is our time of the year right now.
Yeah.
And it's slow. It's slow for everybody involved. They go, oh, sales are going to crash. Sales have already crashed. Newsflash. I mean,
yeah.
But then you start, going back to the inventory. Go ahead and throw the chart back up there real quick.
Yes,
talking about, oh my goodness, look at how much it's grown and everything. And I say, okay, well, let's go back to 2008. Okay, there's 56,000 listings. Okay. 2006, okay, at this time, there were 34,000 listings. People ask a lot of questions about pre-pandemic, which I guess that's some kind of a benchmark, but let's go to 2018. We're still way above that, but not by much. They were 17,000. And then somebody asked me about 2014. Well, we're just about mirroring 2014 on everything. But having said that, then you have to ask yourself, well, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean anything unless, except for the relationship between those new listings and sales. Now, if our sales jump to 6,000 a week and we end up at, 2014 inventory, prices are going to go up. If we were to jump to 5,000 a week today, prices would start climbing immediately. But there's a process. First, the listing prices start to come down. Then the under contract prices start to come down, and that takes another couple of months. And then it's like 3 months after that where the average sales price starts to come down. That's when people get the message. Oh, geez, it's looking grim out there. So that's not going to happen between now and June. I think in August, unless we see a reduction in rates, I think people are going to have a serious discussion about where the market's headed. But there's a lot of stuff that can go on between now and August. So like I say, I worry more about the debt than I worry about anything that Jerome Powell has to say. If there's progress being made on the debt and, which is not going to get solved in 6 months, then, we could see the bond market react favorably. And that would help rates. I mean, that's in your wheelhouse, not mine. But you can pull the chart off. I'm done with that.
Okay. There's a comment there. Then that's probably something you can address. Fairbanks, Alaska. I don't know if I've ever done a loan in Alaska.
I've never been there, but you got the same month supply we do. We're at 3.8. Homes are priced 3.5% interest rates. Some are pretending that's still there. But that, again, we're seeing that. Oh, okay, that didn't work. And so that one of the news stories that came out, and I think I glossed over it, was how much more February closings were than January. Well, January, those contracts were written in December. We're always slow in December.
Yeah.
And then when you go back and you look, it happens year after year after year. There's more contracts in February than there ever is in January. But for some reason, this television station decided to make it a news story. Yeah. Oh,
All right, let's see what
Here we go.
we got. A comment: homes are priced 3.5% interest rates. I don't
They're priced like financing is cheap.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
The entire market is. Gotcha. Yeah. So what's going to go on with interest rates? I still think we won't talk about Doge because that'll get into a we'll get way too much chatter on that one. But on our end, I'm starting to see a lot of people are coming out of the woodworks for the refinances, but for some reason, it's like the purchase market. We were just talking about it this morning. It's just like, where is it? And for those that it's going to crash. I think last year, and this, wasn't last year the worst year on record for sales? The number of sales, if not, it was damn close.
Well, yes,
nationally.
Pretty slow. Nationally, yeah, it's pretty slow. I mean, it's the worst in 14 years. But inside of that 14 years, there were some really rocking. So, hate to do it to you, but I got another sales per month chart up there. You can put that up, Dan, and see.
Sure thing.
And now we're in March, so this one hasn't populated. But you can see that if we just look at February, and you hear things like, well, it's been the worst, since whatever, in 14 years and stuff, and we're down here. So then you got to ask yourself when you see this, well, how much worse can it get? And so we can go back to, let me roll this down a little bit here if I can. There we go. Everybody likes our pre-pandemic levels, so let's see how rocking and rolling was that. Let's go to 2018. They were rocking pretty good right there. Let's go back to the doom and gloom of the pandemic. Are we still allowed to say that now? Because I know YouTube was killing that for a while.
I don't know.
They demonetized you if you mentioned. So everybody called it the cough. And here's an interesting one. So see how low sales were? But see, this is coded, these colors. These are foreclosures. Oh. That's the only activity that we had going on in 2008. You don't see any of that anywhere in here. So will this be a repeat? I'm a betting man. I'm going to say no. And no one here says, we got 50 million more people. It's slow out there. I mean, is it going to get slower and slower? Well, if it does, then what do you think will happen to months of supply? Normal's 4 to 6 months. We're 3.8. So you just have to watch that number. It doesn't matter how slow sales are if listings are low. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if we're only listing 1,500 homes a week, which is dismal, and yet we're selling 2,500 homes a week, prices are going to go up. So,
are you seeing the price deterioration? I'm gonna get to some of these. Let's get to some of these things. Are you guys seeing more transactions using? I've seen. I don't know of anybody that's gotten a assumable loan. Have you?
It's tiny and they take a long time.
Yeah. No, I don't see any. Though they wouldn't go through me, so they would use. Might work with Rick, but they wouldn't use me for the transaction. So I don't know. We've had people calling in saying how you do it, whatever. I've been in this business 35 years. I don't know of anybody, and I don't know one that's being done. That doesn't mean anything, but that's out of my wheelhouse a little bit. Let's get to some more. Are you guys seeing? The next question is: you can't have foreclosures if FHA is keeping them off the market. Wall Street Journal article. I can't
find that article. I can't find anything on that.
If you can post that, no one. If you could post that on here, we'd love to see it. Because I'd love to, I like talking facts. So when I can't validate it, it's hard to say, what's going on. I don't know what's going on with all that. all that's going on. Let's see. I think it's mostly no one is out there. No one. Let's see. Leading
Well,
indicators are screaming recession. Screaming.
but
There's
what is a recession? I mean, it's 2 quarters of negative growth. Sometimes you
well,
don't even feel it.
it depends on. I'll say it. It depends on who the administration is. Remember last time we were in a recession and they rewrote like Wikipedia to take out the 2 years of or 2 quarters of negative growth or something like that. We've been hearing about the recession for 2.5 years now, and no one. Some of the indicators are. I wouldn't say screaming. But that's more like my rates are plummeting. But there's about a 25% chance or 30% chance of a recession. There's always like a 20% chance of a recession.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can. There's always something to be scared about. Here's. Let's kind of talk about this a little bit. Does the markets have to crash, or do they have to go fantastic, or can we just be steady? How about if that came back to fruition? Rates got to 6.25. People stopped, just spending tons of money, just got back to normal lives, and everything just came back in line with normalcy. Could that happen? That's where I'm like, okay, folks, why do we always have to say it's got to crash or it's got to go crazy? How about if we just have steady and slow and steady?
Yeah, affordability may be a problem for years. I'm not arguing against that.
What's that?
Affordability could be a problem for years.
I'm
not
get
arguing
it.
against. I will never be able to afford to live in LA ever,
Yeah.
but yet people do.
Right.
Seattle, not going back there. So if we always have recessions. We've had one after another, and I've lived through some really bad ones. I've lived through some that I don't see. We've had high unemployment. Sometimes it affects housing, sometimes it doesn't. I don't get my head wrapped around the what ifs looking out too far. I just can't. I just look at where I mean, my channel is not about forecasting like Zillow does for the year. My channel is just to say, here's where we're at, here's the indicators that we watch, and here's what I see happening now, today, and what it means over the next 13 weeks and maybe rolling in December. Beyond that, I'm just spitballing and guessing just like everybody else. Because you know what? None of the big guys got it right.
Yep. When you have the Federal Reserve,
right?
Yeah, the Federal Reserve, the dot plot came out the other day, and it gives us predictions all the way out to 2028, I think. Hell, I want to know what's going on in June of this year. You know what I mean? It's like, can we figure that piece out? But yeah, I mean, I have a home valuation or forecast coming out on properties on Saturday, I think it is. And the only reason why I did it is I'm starting to see all these videos again. It's going to crash worse than 2008. And I thought the funny thing is I thought 2001 was supposed to be 2008 or 2002 and 2003, but you're still referencing 2008 because it's never been that bad before, and it probably will never get that bad again. So
I'm tired of talking about 2008.
Yes.
I really am. I just, Warren Buffett's selling his housing business. Okay. Yeah, good. Well, he's going to make some money. Look, no one, here's the deal. You're convinced real estate's going to crash. Everything's looking bad and everything's bleak. Okay.
Yep.
I can probably sit here and find all kinds of numbers that'll tell you the opposite. And it's not a debate. I'm just, it's okay. I'm not there.
Here, let's see. I'm trying to find unemployment. Let's see. I'm going to go through some of these questions. Higher unemployment is what it is. Okay. Let's see the next thing before they rewrite it. Who's Mike? I don't understand what you're saying, Mike. Before we rewrite what? I'm going to check and see if you have any other questions. You don't.
I
so
think
Mike,
I think he meant Wikipedia. So.
Oh, I gotcha. Man, I'm slow today, aren't I? Sorry. I'm trying to wiggle 15,000 things. I had Pat in the background. I forgot to let him know that we're doing this so he could bring that up. Former home builder CEO, we have, when have you ever seen home prices skyrocket and stay? When have you ever seen home prices skyrocket and stay flat? You're seeing that right now.
There's other home builders and CEOs that said they think everything's going to be fine. So again, you can cherry pick it.
Yeah. But if you look at the national home prices over the last 3-4 years, 2001, between 2019 and 2021, we all have to admit prices probably went up 20-30%.
Yeah.
What have we done since 2022-ish? The market's been flat. The housing market, 2023, 2024, and most of 2025, the housing market is like this. So it can happen. But if you look at longevity or whatever, but I'm not going to go there. The whole goal is we're trying to help you understand how to analyze the markets, how to understand financing, how to understand how to finance it, how to look at properties, how to find realtors, all these things. If you're in the mindset that house prices are way too high, they're going to crash, you're never going to buy. Well, I don't know what to tell you. If that's your mindset, go back to those channels that focus on that. We want to change your mindset. I like minority mindset. I love talking to Spreet because he's like, the reason why I made my title what it is people have to change their mindset. Everybody thinks, first thing we come up with here is, the market's going to crash. The Dow Jones is this. It's all negative. Why don't we start talking a little positive? Let's say the markets are going to stabilize. Tariffs. I'm okay with tariffs. It's retaliatory tariffs and things like that. I don't want to get political on these things, but the whole point of this is we're just trying to help you guys educate you guys on real estate, financing, and things like that, so you can learn something. And you got to open your mind up to learning. That's all we're asking you to do. So let's keep going through the questions. Afternoon, Dan. Looking forward to closing on our refi with you. Well, hey, you're here. Same here, buddy. So I'm going to be shooting you an email for an update here shortly, bud. So thanks. Your wife signed 2 days ago. So all that stuff moved forward. So thanks, Christian. Appreciate you being here too, bud. Let's move forward. And Warren Buffett is selling his housing business. No, okay.
There's a lot of consolidation going on in brokerages beyond just Warren Buffett. Your Rocket Mortgage bought Redfin. Compass just bought somebody huge. It's just, there's this huge consolidation, but nobody hears it except they hear that Warren Buffett's selling his. Well, there's a reason. They're consolidating. It's slow. So everybody's consolidating them, trying to combine resources, to combat and compete with Zillow. And so it's almost like what the grocery business did many years ago. Everything was like 2007-ish, I think. Every grocer was getting gobbled up. Albertsons merged with this guy and that guy. And now we're seeing that in the real estate industry. But if Warren Buffett does it, oh my God.
Warren Buffett sold Apple, his Apple stock.
Yeah.
I still own it and I'm doing fantastic. And I also own Berkshire Hathaway. So I'm covered both ways. So you can't just pick a cherry off a tree and say, oh, that one's bad, so the whole tree's bad. That's going to be my analogy. So you have to look at the broad scope of things. I just made that one up.
I'm not a real estate cheerleader. I'm not trying to tell everybody buy. I'm just saying, look, hey, I'm going to show you the numbers. You make your decision.
And that's exactly what the whole channel is about. That's what my channel is about too. I'm not here. If the housing market went down 20%, I'd come out and see, folks, the housing market's down 20% today. How can you use this to your advantage? What should you do if you're in that situation? We just have to roll with the punches. So,
well, if you think, Dan, let me ask you this. If you think the market's going to really soften, it's going to crash. And somebody made a comment to me about a week ago about, you baby boomers ruined everything. And I really take that ticks me off. Give me a break. I mean, you want to live what I lived through? You want to be a baby boomer like me, where we had gas, where we had to stand in line. We went through junior high and high school, convinced that once we graduated, we were going to send to Vietnam and get shot. That was what I lived through. Yep. Did you ever get your wages frozen by the president like I did in 1973? Couldn't get a raise. So, cry me a river that baby boomers ruined your life. Yeah. But if that's how you feel, if your mindset is that you're blaming somebody else, you're not going to succeed. If your mindset is that real estate's going to change and it's going, then good. Where are you investing your money now? What are you doing to better yourself? Take real estate, put it in another bucket. Are you lowering your debt? Are you investing in the stock market? Bitcoin went up 1,200%. Were you in that party, or did you sit on the sidelines saying things are bad? In other words, I get it, but what else are you doing besides complaining? I'm off my soapbox now.
Dude, I love it. I love it. And that's what my channel is about. I don't care. I jumped all over the Crash Brothers. No one's probably one of them or something like that. And I'm fine with it. You have your opinions. I have mine. My whole thought is, and like Rick just said his, I grew up in a small little West Virginia coal mine town. My parents, here's what my dad came to me. He worked in the steel mills for 35 years. God bless him. Most money he ever made one year was $40,000. He told me. But he came to me and he said, like I told your sister and your brother, we'll buy you a car or you can go to college. Well, They went to, I was the only one that graduated college. But that's what I did. And then when right out of college, I had $3,000 in the bank, $3,000. I used all that money to buy a car to drive to Chicago to find a job because I had this theory, this thing that I wanted to be in the stock market. I didn't know anybody in New York, so I had a relative who knew somebody in Chicago that they're like, yeah, you can stay with us for a while you find a job. And that's what I did. I packed up all my shit in the $3,000 car, drove here, and just kept going door to door to door till somebody would hire me. And that's what I did. And I got into the mortgage business at that point. I didn't even know what a mortgage was. I was in a storeroom, just calling people all day, all night. That's how I got the start in this. And that was 37 years ago. So it hasn't been an easy ride. But I've been able to put money aside, buy a house. I'm on my third home. I have a stock portfolio. If I would have just sat there and said, oh, I'm from a small coal mine town and we're all stupid here, I'd have never amounted to anything. So you have to do it on your own if you want to. So
yeah, I was 19 years old driving a forklift, tearing up a railroad track in the rainforest. I made really good money, but it was hard. So I had all this money in the bank. I went to my dad. I go, "What? I want to buy some land." He goes, "No." He said, "Take a trip." He goes, "You're not married. You don't have kids." He goes, "Go have fun because you'll never have this opportunity again."
Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's get to some more here. Let's see. I get a kick out of these ones. I don't need asset price manipulation to be successful. I have no clue what you're talking about. So yeah, I'd love if you'd like to call me or email me. All my information's down below. I'd love to talk to you. Unless if you want to hide behind your icon, you're more than welcome to. But it's not a debate with you. We just trying to give you our opinions on how things work. So let's get over to it. We have the Catholic Misfit just purchased a new construction home in Marana, Arizona. Homes are booming here in the Tucson Vale. This is in your wheelhouse, buddy.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet area down there.
Yep. And the housing market isn't crashing. So the Catholic Misfit, let me ask you if you're still on here, why did you buy? Because what we hear from a lot of people is the markets are going to crash. I guess we shouldn't go down that path.
Did you locate here or
what's that? Did you relocate or did you just kind of buy your first house? Love to be able to transition with you. Let's get to the next one. If you wouldn't mind answering that question. If I own a house with an interest rate lower than today's interest rate and I'm looking to buy a new one, what's the best way to determine how the payment would change? Oh, so Daniel, here's what I tell people to do. Look, when you're running run a mortgage calculator. And run everything at like 6.875 is the rate. And just use that as your template right now to qualify. The rest of this is if I own a house with an interest rate lower than today's rate and I'm looking to buy a new one, what's the best way to determine how the payment would change? It's not going to change on your current house. Your new house will have a whole new loan. It'll have its own interest rate, its own taxes, its own insurance. Rick, am I missing something?
No, I think the hard part is in new construction because you don't. Yeah, how the taxes line out change after a couple of years, but they're really good at telling you what they will be. Okay. And then if you're getting another house that's a resale house, you can see the taxes there. There are some states that let's say your taxes are $1,800 a year and it was an assessed value of blah, 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 and now you bought it at a much higher value. It immediately resets that year and you're getting dinged. So you want to have that conversation with your agent and say, hey, where's this going to be in 2 years? How much can I expect this, tax bill to be? Because there's some states, especially Washington State, people are just getting pounded with price increases on their taxes. We have a cap.
How's your insurance out there?
It's up, but it's not anywhere near what we're seeing everywhere else. I mean, we're collectively feeling the pain because that all gets spread, right? So it's gone up. Car insurance has always been high in Arizona because we have a lot of auto theft out here. Gee, go figure. And so my car was stolen 3 months after I moved here.
That's got to be a freaky feeling.
It is. My wife called and said,
out here.
Hey, did you take the car? I go, what do you mean? I took the company car. She goes, where's the Jeep Cherokee? I go, you know what? I didn't see it in the driveway. So
that's got. I like. I got towed one time. I got off the train, went over to get my car, and I'm like, I know I parked it here. That's the freakiest feeling. So we have no more questions.
He's asking, he's going, sell the old one, buy the new one. What's the difference in price per month out the door is what I'm asking. So, closing costs, etc., I guess. So what's the difference in price per month out the door? Boy, that's pretty open.
Yeah, I
Depends
don't
on
know.
the price that you're buying and stuff.
Here, I'll pop up another one. I purchased. Oh, here it is. I purchased because of a long-term home for me. Even if the crash happens, I stay perfect. And that's the people we're trying to talk to. If you're trying to use houses like trading stock or Bitcoin, please don't do it. Please don't do it. You're going to lose money. You can't trade homes. If you're going to be in the house 5, 6, 7 years, look into doing it. If you plan on being there kind of forever, I'm a proponent of buying a house. So we'll get through a couple more of these, and then I'll let Rick go because he's a busy fella. Y'all still can't sell my house.
He can't sell his house in Queen Creek. New construction stealing his buyers with lower rates. That's a lot of that's going in Queen Creek. But the one thing I've seen on new construction out there too, Clint, is that, I mean, Queen Creek along with Maricopa and Buckeye are considered buyers markets. In other words, you can get a better deal out of the sellers. But depending on where your home is, the new builders are not offering the lot sizes that normally have been out in Queen Creek, which are a lot of custom homes. They're not offering swimming pools. So you can be competitive. You just can't be competitive on rates. But you can be competitive on rates if you offer to buy the rate down for the buyer. And we're seeing a lot of that. So when you're looking at the price, try to look at, people look and say, I bought here and prices used to be up here and now they're down here. Well, how are they in relationship where you originally purchased? Is that bleak? How is that? Is there still some equity there for you to work with? How bad do you want to move? Can you get it at that peak level? No. New construction has shaved, given you a bit of a shave and a haircut out there, but there's still some options for you. And again, depends on where your house is.
Awesome. All right, let's see if there's any more. Let's see. Treat the profit from the old house as down payment toward the new house. Brilliant idea. Thanks, Christian. Appreciate it, buddy. So, Rick, I'm going to leave it at that if that's okay with you. I've been on this. Are you having another broadcast today? Or was that
I'm not. No. Well, I'm waiting to hear from a guy just to do a recording. That's that Canadian real estate agent from Ontario, from Calgary, and so I really want to drill into what's going on down here with the Canadians. Because here's an interesting thing: the Canadian dollars were 69 cents US, and I reached out to him. I said, "Gosh, you could sell your house down here in US dollars." And then go buy something in Belize where the Canadian dollars were $1.41.
Exactly.
That's good math, right?
So good call.
So
not a bad idea.
So
hold on, let's get to one more. Let's get to one more if you don't mind. Okay. Hi, Dan. My wife will be on maternity leave. Can we still use the income to buy? Be our third house? Yes, you can. As long as she's still on their payroll, they can't really fire her or anything. So she'll be on maternity leave. We'll just validate that she's still employed. She will be coming back and we can use her income. So great question to end this. Rick, I can't thank you enough for coming in here. We'll start doing this once a month, get it a little flowed down. Get some buyers out to you out in sunny Arizona, and like I said, I greatly appreciate you coming on when I ask you to, and it's good to see you, buddy.
Well, it's good to see you as well. Thanks for inviting me. So,
all righty. Well, hope that your health continues to go fantastic. And there he is, the man, the legend. So, folks, that's it for today. I greatly appreciate you.
Get your PSA checked.
Yeah, that's his public service announcement for today. So thanks, Rick, for coming. And if you guys need any other questions or concerns or anything answered from either of us, you can get a hold of Rick, and I'll find his information right here in a second. There is Rick. So you can get a hold of Rick right through there at Rick Helps, Rick at rickhelps.com, or his website, rickhelps.com. So check out Rick. He's an Arizona realtor, and me, I'm Dan Frio. I do this report every day to help you guys stay informed of what in the heck's going on with real estate, folks. So thanks for watching again this week. Can't wait to see you here next week. Same time, same place. Thanks, folks.